What is up, guys? My name is Emiliano. Today I'll be going over this blueprint which I created for all my remote workers just getting into the gym and that don't have a lot of time to work out. So, this is what I call my fitness blueprint for remote workers. How do we build the most amount of muscle and the least amount of fat with limited time while still being efficient? Let's get into it. We're going to be covering three different topics today. So, in order to maximize muscle growth when we're limited on time or just overall, regardless of how much time you have, you're going to need three things. Number one is going to be your stimulus, or yeah, you need a stimulus, muscle stimulus. Two is nutrition. For muscle growth, you're going to need these three things: a stimulus, nutrition, and recovery. Need these three things. Not sure how clear that is, but it's going to be a stimulus, nutrition, and your recovery. So, number one, starting with a stimulus, given the fact that we are limited on time, I always recommend. So let's first go over something. Let's say you're not limited on time. Firstly, look at the amount of days that you can work out and base yourself off of that. For example, I always like a 6-day split. I like having at least one rest day per week. A lot of people go to the gym 7 days a week. I like to have an active rest day, but important thing is how many days a week can you realistically work out? As in actually go to the gym at least 20-30 minutes session, even if it's at home. So that way you can create that stimulus for muscle growth. If there's no stimulus, doesn't matter how much protein you eat, how good your recovery is, you're not gonna see muscle growth. Now, starting with that, what does stimulus consist of? What's going to be number one? Progressive overload. Load. Two, it's going to be intensity, as in training your failure. And number three, it's going to be the exercise that your exercise selection. Going to be stimulus consists of progressive overload, intensity, which is how intense you go in every single set, and exercise selection. So given the fact that we don't have a lot of time, the most efficient way to grow muscle is by training each muscle twice per week. Meaning that if you only have 4 days per week to work out, I would recommend you go with something like an upper body, lower body split. So upper body, maybe take a rest day, lower body, take a rest day. You can space it out however you want, right? That's the least important part. So just start off with that and base your routine off of that. But yeah, you're definitely gonna need a routine because you need structure. You're not just gonna walk in the gym and just hope for the best, especially when you're limited on time. So start with your routine. Do an upper body, lower body. You can investigate whatever you want about what's the best routine, but I would suggest just starting with a routine that you know that you can stick to, or whatever you have heard will fit the best. Now, since we're gonna have limited time, you want to go in the gym with the intention of, like I said, it's gonna be progressive overload. Progressive overload tells you that you've gotten stronger, that you've built muscle. It doesn't necessarily build the muscle itself. So let me explain. Just go in the gym every single time going harder than last time. So let's say it's your first day in the gym. I would not suggest going straight at it with the intention of going to failure if it's your first day or first week, because you want to start slow and ease into it, right? The harder you go in the beginning, the harder it is going to be for you to stick to it. So just go into it, lift whatever, feel the muscles, do something, because your body is not used to it, right? In the beginning, as long as you do something, your body will respond to that and there will be muscle growth if you're a complete beginner. Now, As the weeks go by, you find your routine. I want you to focus on that. Progressive overload. Progressive, let's just put progressive overload. What that means is that if on day one of the week, let's say it's Monday, it's an upper body day, you're doing a bench press. And then on your next upper body day, which let's say it's Thursday, because you're doing a 4-day split, you're doing bench press again. Let's say on Monday, you hit, I don't know, 100 pounds for 8 reps. On Thursday, you want to hit 100 pounds for 10 reps. So that difference in reps is what's going to tell you that you're progressively overloading. And as long as all the other factors stay the same, let's say your form is good, you're feeling good, you're doing a full range of motion, all that kind of thing, that means that you've successfully progressively overloaded, and that's what you want to do. I would say I don't want to get too much into like, the complicated stuff, all that, because I just want to give you the essentials here, right? We're limited on time. We're not trying to spend time on what's the best exercise selection, what's the best rep range. Just stick to an 8 to 12 rep range. And once you progress, once you can do that 100-pound bench press for 12 reps with ease, increase it. So on this Thursday, let's say you were able to do 12 reps with ease. On the next time that you're going to hit that same exercise on Monday, you're going to increase the weight, and of course, you're not going to be able to do 12 reps. If you can, then make sure that you can actually do it with good form, slow down, all that kind of thing. And that's what progressive overload is. If there's no stimulus, no matter how much protein you get or how well your recovery is, you're not going to see growth. So it's that. Progressive overload, and that's where failure comes in to play. You don't want to take every single set to failure unless you're an absolute advanced lifter, because sometimes it won't give you the same return on your investment. You're going to get a lot of fatigue, you're going to be very sore the next day, and it's not going to be very helpful. So yeah. Let's base ourselves off of that upper body, lower body split, because I think that's going to be the most efficient for this audience. In terms of exercise selection, that's the other thing which I wrote down here. When it comes to stimulus, you want to pick exercises that, like I said, you want to hit every single muscle twice per week. But of course, since we're being efficient, I don't want you to focus on tiny, minute little details. Just make sure that you're always having at least vertical and horizontal movements. So there's going to be, vertical pulls, vertical pulls, vertical push, and horizontal pull, horizontal push. That's an easy way to base your routine off of. So for example, on an upper body day, you want to have that, right? You want to have at least a vertical push and a vertical pull, as well as a horizontal push and a horizontal pull. So just quick examples. Vertical push would be some kind of shoulder press. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. Just pick something that you enjoy. I would suggest not whatever you see online that says is the best, or whatever is the most science-based backed exercise. Don't base yourself off of that. Pick an exercise that you enjoy and that you can stick to over a long period of time. So that would be, for me, it would be like a sitting shoulder press with dumbbells, but there's so many variations, right? Like I said, you can pick whatever you want. You can do a machine. Some people prefer machines. Some people prefer barbells. I prefer dumbbells. So that's going to be my vertical push. Vertical pulling, on the other hand, everyone always goes for traditional lat pull down. That's probably what you're going to have in every single gym. If you're at home, I would suggest finding somewhere, even if you don't have a pull-up bar, finding somewhere where you can do pull-ups. If you can't do a pull-up, do the negative, work your way up there, and you will see gains. That's still a kind of progressive overload. Horizontal push, your bench press, your dumbbell press, something like that. And then horizontal pull would be something like a rowing movement, whether it is with a barbell, cables, whatever you have access to. So, stimulus, just progressive overload, high intensity, and exercise selection. Those are the 3 main things which you should focus on when it comes to stimulus. But most important, is progressive overload. Make sure that you're constantly doing that. If you're getting stronger, you're building muscle. And you always want to have some form or some way to measure if you're actually progressing. And that's the best way to do that. You don't want to just, throw mud at the wall and hope that something sticks. Moving on to number 2 will be your nutrition. Nutrition. So nutrition consists of calories and protein, or at least in this scenario where we're trying to be efficient. Calories. Main thing that I want you guys to do keyword not. So you can see here, keyword not. Do not bulk. You do not want to bulk unless you're, which I expect none of you guys to be in that criteria, unless you're actually, near death, or you're quite literally 8% body fat, no muscle, you're malnutrition, you're quite literally that person, which I don't expect a lot of you guys to be. But yeah. Do not bulk. Bulking means that you're eating above your maintenance. So that's why I put calories here. When it comes to calories, most of us, since we are remote workers or students or people that don't have a lot of time, we're not active for most of the day. So all I want you to focus on is eating at your maintenance calories. I weigh at the moment around 148 pounds morning weight, and I'm 5'6". My maintenance calories is 2,000. And that's what I figured through trial and error and what I eat and counting my calories. I don't want you guys to get all overcomplicated with that. Just, do your own trial and error. If you're gaining weight every single morning, I would suggest you constantly do that. If you're gaining weight every single morning, clearly you need to lower your calories, because the weight should not change a lot when it comes to this. Why? Because building muscle is a very, very slow process, and that's our main goal here, right? You want to minimize fat gain while maximizing muscle growth. And if that's the case, then that means that your body weight should not drastically change. If you're gaining a pound per week, that is way too much. You need to lower your calories. So just find that balance in your diet that's going to have you eating at maintenance. Because what we want to do is what we call main gaining. We're not bulking, we're not cutting. This is what I suggest all this audience to go through, what I suggest all of you guys to follow, because main gaining is what's going to minimize fat gain while maximizing muscle growth. Your body does not need too much food to build muscle. What's more important is this down here, your protein. So don't eat in a calorie deficit or in a surplus. If you're 25% body fat or you're obese, you know that you're obese, eat at a slight calorie deficit. But for most of us, just eat at maintenance, and that's going to have you in what we call body recomposition, where you're building muscle while losing fat. And if you're a complete beginner, your body should have no issue doing that. So yeah. Calories, maintenance. Okay, protein. For protein, a rule of thumb, we're going to make this as easy as possible because we're focused on making money. We want to maximize muscle growth without having to spend so much time in the gym or making the gym our life. 1 gram per pound, this looks like shit, per pound of ideal body weight. So for most of us, we're likely, our ideal body weight is likely going to be lower than where we are, right? A lot of us are probably going to be more on the obese side than on the skinny side. But if you know that you're a skinny person, I would just go for your body weight, whatever your body weight is right now. The more body fat that you have, the more that you want to decrease this. So let's say you're 200 pounds and you know that you're obese. aim for at least 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. And when I say ideal, I mean lean mass, actual lean mass, muscle, no fat. So if you're obese, 200 pounds, I would suggest aiming for around 170 grams. You don't want to overdo it either, because the more that you eat protein, the more calories that you're also going to eat, the more fat that you're going to gain. So just focus on that. For me, for example, I am a pretty lean person. I don't weigh too much either. But my maintenance calories is around 2,000. However, I don't eat more than 150 grams of protein every single day. So don't overdo it. Just aim for that. That's going to be more than enough. It's going to give your body more than enough nutrition, more than enough protein to rebuild the muscle cells which have been damaged from progressive overload, which we just covered. So just focus on this. Eat as clean as possible, no processed foods, mostly a protein-based diet, right? Keep the carbs on the low. You never want to cut out carbs though. Carbs is your energy source. That's what's going to give you the energy to push hard in the gym. Protein is going to rebuild the muscle, and healthy fats help with hormones, mood, digestion, that kind of thing. So that covers our nutrition. Just focus on those 3 things. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to, roughly, I would just eyeball the protein and the calories, and say no to anything that's not, that's not going to help you. For example, chips, candy, empty calories, soda, all that kind of thing. If you're going to drink something like soda, drink 0 calorie, because it's not going to help you, right? Anything that's not aiding you in the journey, just throw it out the window. And finally, number 3, it is our recovery. This one's very easy, right? Especially since we're not having a very active lifestyle. Your recovery is not something that you have to always, overcomplicate. So it's just going to be your sleep as well as your nutrition and overtraining. I guess overtraining would be another one, but don't worry about it. Most of us, we're not going to be doing this. We're not going to be overtraining. It's just going to be your sleep and basically it, right? As long as you're going hard in the gym and you're getting enough sleep, you shouldn't have muscle soreness be affecting your day-to-day life, because that's the only way that I could see you going wrong when it comes to recovery. So just sleep 7 to 8 hours per night. Right? 7 to 8 hours per night. Just focus on this. Of course, it's a little bit lower than that, I understand. A lot of us are working. But as long as you're getting at least 7 hours per night, I always try to aim for 8 hours in bed, because if you're anything about sleep, you know that hours in bed and hours of sleep are 2 different things. So just focus on getting at least 8 to 9 hours in bed, meaning that if you go to bed at 9, wake up at 5, that's a 9 to 5, that's 8 hours. That would be 8 hours in bed. So expect to get around 7 hours of sleep. Because of course, you wake up throughout the night, you go use the restroom, maybe a lot of us don't fall asleep as soon as we hit the bed, right? So just focus on that, right? Make sure that you're getting at least that, and your sleep shouldn't be something that you should be super worried about. As long as you got all the other things in check, usually sleep is not a very big issue. But yeah, when it comes to all those other topics that I covered, I would put nutrition at the top, then progressive overload, then recovery. But I would not, disregard one over the other. I would try to keep all of them balanced. But if you could only focus on one thing, like let's say maybe 1 week you're very, very, what is it called? You're very busy. You're not able to hit the gym. I would prioritize your sleep. Just, lower your calories a little bit more because you're not being as active. Focus on getting that protein in and hitting some kind of workout. But you're better off doing that than going to the gym and then eating shit. But yeah, if any of this seems too complicated for you guys, or maybe you've already been doing this and you're not seeing the results that you want, click the link in the description below. I will help you out. You can apply to work with me, and we can figure out a better plan that is more detailed. We can actually see if it would make sense for us to work with each other, and we can get your results a little bit quicker, or a lot quicker. Trust me, you'll save years on end by taking out all the guesswork. But if you're a busy man and you're just looking to get started, Focus on this. So yeah, focus on those 3 things. Continue to do what you're doing. If you don't have access to the gym, apply the same exact principles. Just do calisthenics at home. I did calisthenics for my first year of lifting, and I had amazing results. Anybody else can do the same. Of course, you eventually want to get into the gym because it's a lot easier to apply these principles, which are super important. If you don't apply these principles, you're not going to see the muscle growth that you're looking to get, right? When it comes to progressive overload, you want to focus on strength training, right? Anything else, cardio, movement, all that kind of thing, that's going to help a lot to minimize gain if you want to, get optimal results. But this is the most optimal results that you're going to get if you're limited on time. Or if you're just wanting to be as simple as possible, you don't want to overcomplicate anything. Because, of course, I don't want to overwhelm you guys with a lot of information either, because a confused brain always says no, right? You're gonna get that paralysis by analysis, which I don't want. And yeah, so you guys just take all of this into account. Save it for later if you want to go over it again. Come back, watch the video again, or watch it all over again. I'm always here. And yeah, leave any comments, questions, whatever you guys want in the description. And remember, there's always that application if you want to work with me. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck on all of you guys' lifting journey as my fellow closers, fellow remote workers. I'm in the sales industry. Comment whatever industry you're in, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.